Hi, Reni. Thank you very much for taking part in the Business Spotlight series. I'm going to hand it over to you to introduce yourself and what you do.
Hi, cheers for having me on here. So if I was to give you a quick introduction, my background is in marketing. I've been working in marketing for the last 3, 4 years. I set up the social laboratory just before COVID. And at the time, we were a marketing agency focused on the hospitality sector. So we were working predominantly with bars, restaurants, nightclubs, in some cases, hotels. However, obviously, COVID had an impact on that. So we'll touch base on that later. But right now, the Social Laboratory is a Web3 marketing agency. We predominantly work with startups that have recently raised money and are looking to either grow their community, scale their current marketing strategies, and really focus really on their brand and brand awareness.
Fantastic. So, when you say growing the community, what kind of things do you do?
Yeah, of course. So in the Web3 / blockchain space, growing a community is probably the most essential part of any marketing strategy. The reason for that is you can't buy a community, and to actually get paying customers onto your platform, you need to have a strategy in place which focuses on organically scaling. Firstly, your community hub, which in most cases is either Telegram or Discord. And the strategies are all, like I said, fully organic. So we don't really focus on paid marketing such as paid social or PPC campaigns. It's essentially finding your ideal customer profile, finding where they reside digitally, and getting them to go from that platform into wherever you maintain your community. But
Fantastic.
it also does, to add on to that, it does break into two parts. Firstly is the organic growth side of things, where you actually find your community and get them onto your hub. And the second part, which I'd say around 8 out of 10 of our prospects and clients don't have in place, is the community nurturing and retention. So it's great they managed to get the community built out, but unfortunately, in most cases, they don't manage to engage with them as much as they should be doing, and essentially retaining them at the end of the day.
Yeah, which is a shame. They've not done the initial hard bit and then not looked
Yeah,
after.
exactly. Yeah. But in all honesty, it is pretty hard because a lot of the thing is with projects in this space as well, things can change on a daily basis. So at one point you have sort of goals and objectives you want to be hitting, and obviously the community comes into place. But then if plans suddenly change, adapting in terms of community growth is also pretty hard. So our agency focuses on making the process as smooth as possible, and retaining the community, as well as ensuring that the satisfaction rate is as high as possible.
Superb. And you mentioned that it's often for startups at a certain stage. Are there any particular types of business that you see regularly?
Yeah, we tend to. So a lot of recently, even though the market is not in the best position it has been, we've gotten a few. It's mainly platform-based businesses. So you could say blockchain as a service. In other words, software as a service, but more adapted to blockchain. So one of the most interesting clients we've worked with, where I was previously the CMO as well, was Whalemap. At Whalemap, we offered on-chain data analytics. Um, became a pretty popular and large platform with a community of over 100,000 members and over 200,000 paying users on the platform. So it tends to be interesting projects like that. We used to work with some tokens and some NFT projects. However, with them, the market is currently quite saturated, and finding a good NFT project is very hard. And in most cases, they do have an in-house team which really focuses on their marketing. So yeah, that's kind of an overview of who we predominantly work with.
Great, thank you. And look, you've touched on it briefly earlier, but what was the impact of COVID on the business?
Yeah, it was huge. So when I was at university, I started in 2017, graduated in during COVID time actually. But at the time, because what I studied and what the experience I previously had was all hospitality marketing related, I thought I would start my own agency, which focused on that sector. Obviously, when COVID came, all of those um, businesses didn't really have marketing in mind during COVID time. And the lucky thing is, I think it was about 3, 4 months in. into the business into social labs when we started and COVID hit. So it did give me a lot of time to think about the business model, how we can approach, and obviously with COVID, it did last a while. So it did give me a lot of time to think and reassess our business model. And from there, we rebranded into an e-com slash tech marketing agency. We worked with a few e-com brands. That went well. We monetized quite successfully. However, the problem of e-com was that it is repetitive. Month on month, they require sort of the same, more or less the same tasks to be done. The marketing strategy doesn't really change much. You set up some PPC campaigns, you set up some Facebook ads, you do some creative work, maybe work with influencers, and that's really it. And as a person, as a business owner, as well as a marketer, I didn't really progress much. So I wanted to get more skills, build on my current skill set. And I looked at the Web3 industry. Previously, I invested a little bit. It wasn't much. It was more of a hobby into different projects, into different coins / tokens. And I was like, maybe we can make this a career, because at the time it was around end of 2020 / start of 2021 when we fully rebranded to a Web3 agency. But at that time, there wasn't many agencies. So the competition was a lot smaller. And I was like, we might be one of the first agencies and one of the leading agencies in the space. And that's kind of what we're working towards this year. And I'm pretty happy with the progress, in all honesty.
Cool. Yeah, look, and that kind of brings me on nicely to the next thing I was going to ask you, which are, what are the aspirations for the next 5 years?
Yeah, of course. So unfortunately, this industry is at the moment is still unstable. I think there's still a lot to be done, and firstly in terms of regulation, as well as mass adoption. But in terms of for the agency specifically, I think right now, even though the market is not in, like I said previously, is not in a great shape, you could say, we're still getting clients, majority from inbound leads, which is really promising, because right now, again, because the market's not great, marketing isn't really a priority for most companies. And for us as an agency, I think the important thing is to really build relationships in the next 5 years that will help us grow into, firstly, one of the leading agencies within the space. And this isn't specific to the UK, but worldwide. I do want to grow out my team as well. And for me personally, for my own personal brand, I want to become one of the main thought leaders in terms of Web3 marketing. So those are the goals. Obviously, 5 years is a fair bit of time. And since this space changes a lot, I'm sure my goals will change as well.
Sure. Fantastic. Excuse me. And look, I mean, you touched as well there on a couple of the challenges for the industry. So do you see those as the main challenges coming up?
Yeah, so there are a lot of challenges. Firstly, there's still a lot of things that need to be a bit more regulated. With the FTX crash at the end of last year, I think that was a big wake-up call for many companies, as well as legislative bodies. And I think once that's in place, there's going to be a lot more projects that will be able to kind of climb the ladder, because right now the space is really saturated and the trust levels are really down. So the good thing about that is our services are quite in demand when it does come to it. For example, having a strong and loyal community is amazing, because when the market is in a state like it is right now, you still have that community behind you, backing your project, sort of supporting you, giving you feedback, and still believing in your outcome and your vision. But yeah, because the market is so saturated and there's a lot of projects out there that shouldn't necessarily be existing, I suppose you could say, that's a huge challenge for us as marketers, because firstly, obviously, we need more clients at all times, and it's difficult to find the right clients when the market is down and saturated.
Yeah, it makes some sense. And for yourself, it's obviously been an interesting time as a business owner. Continues to be interesting. What's been the biggest learning?
The biggest learning has definitely been since we've moved into this space. Although, in honesty, even prior to COVID, I think I was thinking too long term ahead in terms of business plans. I've realized I need to keep that a lot more shorter, maybe by quarters, by 6 months. Essentially, I think things change so quickly that you need to be quick to adapt and pivot, and that's been the biggest thing that I've learned in the last 2 months, 2 years, sorry.
Great, thank you. And obviously, driven guy looking to go into new markets, do different things. What is it that inspires you?
What inspires me is firstly different concepts and different products in this space. For me, marketing, I enjoy marketing personally. So for me, this isn't really a job, it's also a passion and a hobby. And for me, having the opportunity to firstly lead within this Web3 marketing space and to have the opportunity to work with these projects really, really helps me motivate myself to keep going, even when times get tough. So for sure, that's a huge factor. And secondly, I think from more so on an entrepreneurship side, I enjoy having the freedom to decide my own schedule, travel where I want. For example, last week I was in Saudi Arabia in Riyadh for the Leap Expo, which is a big tech conference in the Middle East. In 2 weeks' time, I'm going to Denver, Colorado, for Eve Denver, and I think having that opportunity is great because I get to meet different people from different backgrounds. I have the freedom to decide my own schedule, so that's a big driving factor as well.
Yeah, and some quite different destinations from Riyadh to Colorado is
Yeah, exactly.
brilliant. And look, as a final thing, is there any news or any offer you'd like to extend to the audience?
Um, yeah, definitely watch out for the social laboratory. I think we'll be making really big progress this year. Last year was a learning curve. This is the year where we take all the things that we learned from last year and um, implement new strategies. So hopefully you hear more about the social laboratory and our growth. And if you're interested in learning more about Web3 marketing, how we operate, what we do, feel free to reach out to me via LinkedIn.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Well, look, thank you for taking part. It's been great to find out more about what you do. And yeah, we'll look forward to seeing the growth of the company throughout the next year.
Cheers, Ed. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Rennie.